2 weeks after the first batch of documents dropped, the Pentagon released something that truly broke the internet. This was a video, actual military footage from Syria in 2021. In the recording, a U.S. military drone is tracking an object. The infrared sensor locks on while the object is stationary. Then, without any warning, it accelerates instantly. The sensor loses its lock, and the object is simply gone. This entire sequence takes about 2 seconds. Now, the Pentagon digitally enhanced this footage multiple times. They slowed it down, zoomed in, and applied different filters. Every enhancement confirmed the same impossible physics. The object exhibits what experts call instantaneous acceleration. There is no ramp-up period and no gradual increase in speed. One moment it is there, the next it is gone. We can talk about advanced drones from other countries, or even our own classified programs, but here is what makes this so strange. The Pentagon officially says they do not know what this is. And if they do not know, it means one of two things. Either someone else on Earth has technology we cannot comprehend, or we are looking at something genuinely anomalous. As Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb noted, if we knew the distance to the object, we could calculate its true acceleration. But without that data, the Pentagon is essentially saying they have a video of something doing the impossible and they cannot explain it. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is a confession. The next case was so significant that the White House specifically highlighted it on social media. This incident took place in August 2022, over the water near Iran. Military infrared sensors detected multiple objects hovering in the sky. Then one of them does something that should not be possible. It enters the water, and here is the critical part: it does not slow down. To understand why this is a problem, remember that water is 1,000 times denser than air. If a jet fighter hits the water at high speed, it disintegrates. The friction alone would cause a catastrophic deceleration for any known craft. But this object transitions from air to water without any expected slowdown, as if the water is not even there. Physicist Avi Loeb called this data intriguing because it appears to violate basic principles of physics. The object is either moving so fast that water resistance becomes negligible, which would require speeds we cannot achieve, or it is using a propulsion system that we do not understand. The Pentagon has not confirmed what these objects are, labeling them as unidentified. But they released the footage anyway, which suggests they want people to see it, and for the scientific community to get involved. And what might keep you up at night is that this is not the only incident like this in the files. There is a pattern of reports describing objects moving between air and water without any visible effect of friction. And in investigations, patterns matter. This next report is the one that really demands attention, not because it is the most dramatic, but because of who reported it. The witness was a senior U.S. intelligence officer who is still serving and still holds full security clearances. This is not a retired whistleblower with an axe to grind. This is someone whose entire career depends on credibility and accuracy. The officer was on a helicopter mission when they saw countless orange orbs swarming in all directions against a mountain backdrop. The display lasted for several minutes and was seen by multiple witnesses on board. Here is where the story gets even more interesting. The military responded by sending fighter jets to investigate. When the jets arrived, the orbs started chasing the fighters. In the official report, the officer wrote, "We were virtually speechless after these observations." Think about what it would take to leave a trained intelligence officer, someone who has seen classified technology, completely speechless. The Pentagon released this account as a written statement, without video or sensor data. They did this because testimony from credible witnesses is also a form of evidence. Skeptics might immediately say it was a swarm of drones, and perhaps that is a possibility. But the Pentagon has access to radar signatures and electronic emissions data. If they could explain this as drones, they almost certainly would have. The fact that they released it as unidentified suggests they genuinely do not have an explanation. Or they do know, and they are not ready to tell us yet. Now, this is where the story gets truly wild. To be clear, what follows is not proof of anything, but it is a fascinating window into what the US government was thinking back in 1948. The location is Sandia Base in New Mexico, headquarters for the Armed Forces Special Weapons Project. Between 1948 and 1950, while they were designing nuclear weapons, they documented 209 reports of green fireballs and disks maneuvering near the facility. In one incident, a fiery object exploded over a town in Kansas. Witnesses reported mushroom-shaped smoke clouds and debris falling, including an object described as a flashlight battery that was too hot to pick up. This brings us to a remarkable memo, written by a Sandia scientist named Norman Garrett Markham. In the memo, he speculates about where these objects could be coming from. He writes, "There is a possibility, however remote this may seem, that the moon is either inhabited or in use by other than human beings." This was not some fringe theorist. This was a government scientist with a security clearance writing an official document. He considered this possibility because the objects they were seeing did not behave like anything they understood. Their movements seemed to defy conventional physics, and their appearance over sensitive nuclear sites was alarming. Now, we know today that the moon is not inhabited, but in 1948 that was still an unknown. The fact that a credible scientist was even considering this possibility shows just how anomalous these sightings were. The Pentagon's release of this memo provides historical context. It shows that this phenomenon has been taken seriously at high levels for more than 75 years. The second major release of files included something new: audio recordings. Specifically, it contained the Apollo 12 medical debriefing tape from 1969. In this audio, which has been in NASA archives for decades, the astronauts describe strange phenomena they observed during their mission. One astronaut described seeing particles of light that, in his words, really haul out of here and just press off at the stars. Now, NASA has plausible explanations for these kinds of observations. They could be cosmic rays hitting the astronauts, eyes, or even frost from the spacecraft's cooling system. And these are legitimate scientific explanations. But what is interesting is that the Pentagon chose to release this audio now, as part of the declassified UAP files. They could have left it buried in the NASA archives, but they did not. They included because it is part of a larger pattern. Astronauts have been reporting anomalies for decades. The Pentagon seems to be saying, look at the full picture and the consistency of these reports from credible witnesses over time. This audio does not prove anything about UAPs on its own, but it is another piece of evidence in a long-running phenomenon. When you have 75 years of data points from military pilots, intelligence officers, and astronauts describing similar things like instantaneous acceleration and glowing orbs, it is no longer a coincidence. It is a pattern that demands explanation. Luis Elizondo is the former head of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. He is a former counterintelligence official who spent years investigating UAPs for the government. After the second batch of files was released, he went on national television and said something that should alarm everyone. He stated, "These things have been encountered over controlled U.S. airspace and can outmaneuver anything that we had and still have in our inventory. Let that sink in for a moment. The U.S. military has the most advanced aircraft in the world, like the F-22 Raptor and hypersonic missiles. According to Elizondo, whatever these objects are, they can outperform all of it." He also said the files suggest the presence of extraterrestrial material is very real and is certainly a national security issue. Now, the Pentagon has not confirmed this, but they have not denied it either. They are simply releasing the files and letting people draw their own conclusions. It seems the government is preparing the public for a disclosure, but doing so gradually. It is a slow process of getting people used to the idea that there are things in our skies we cannot explain. The first release was historical, showing this has been happening for 75 years. The second was active, showing what is happening right now. Something is happening. Whether it is advanced foreign technology or something else entirely, the Pentagon knows it is real, they know it is a potential threat, and they are finally deciding to tell us. The only question now is, what comes next? If you want to stay on top of these developments as they unfold, subscribe to Business Undercurrent. We dig deeper than the headlines, so hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us as we follow this story wherever it leads. Because this is just getting started.